Hello and welcome back to Kim Reads. Let's continue with Straight On Till Morning. Steps. Tinkerbell's glow lit the dark understory of the jungle with a sprightly and feeble twinkling. Whatever triumph Wendy had felt surviving in the mermaids soon dissipated into the dark, moist, enveloping atmosphere. She was walking away from creatures she had dreamed of meeting since she was a little girl. "Thank you," she said aloud, eventually. Tinkerbell looked at her. "For saving me," Wendy elaborated. Tinkerbell blinked, as if she hadn't thought about it. Wendy watched expressions flit over her face as quick and as transparent as the wings of a dragonfly or a fairy. There was no need for language. The fairy frowned, obviously recalling details of the previous hour. Then an expression of wonder and an underguarded smile appeared. She did save Wendy, didn't she? The smile grew into a rosy grin as she remembered her own heroics. A pleased, proud smugness settled over her features. Finally, she looked up at Wendy, as if just remembering that the person she had saved was still there. And perhaps the person was someone she didn't want to like. She rolled her eyes and shrugged. "No big deal." "Well, it means a lot. To me," Wendy said, refusing to let her comparison retreat so easily from the conversation. I didn't think you were going to come back for me. I thought you'd left for good." The fairy flew up toward Wendy's face and settling inches from her nose. She put her tiny hands on her hips in exasperation. "Well, really, how was I supposed to know? You've made it quite clear that you don't have the fondest feelings for me from the moment we first met. You were boxing me about it, remember?" She didn't mean to overemphasize her statement, but she couldn't help rubbing her arm where the fairy had pinched her extra viciously. The fairy looked thoughtful. "Well, you did." Tinkerbell really was like a child, Wendy decided. Her intelligence and wisdom in the moment was certainly advanced and adult-like, but anything that required reflecting on previous moments or her own past behavior, any consideration of intangible elements like consequences or empathy, was as impossible as the close observation of a distant world. Tinkerbell of earlier in the day was an entirely different creature from the afternoon Tinkerbell, alien and divorced from her. The fairy looked left and right, as if trying to figure out a way out of Wendy's rather obvious and telling statement. And she cocked her own head, as if remembering something, and opened her mouth, wagging a finger at the human girl. I know, I sold Peter's shadow. I put all of Neverland in danger. I deserve your ire, which makes it only more likely you would abandon me to be drowned by the mermaids, especially if it looks hopeless." Wendy sighed, feeling the heaviness of the last few days fall solidly on her shoulders. "All I ever wanted to do was be friends with a fairy or a mermaid and go on an adventure. I didn't mean for all this to happen. I didn't know how many times I can apologize, Tinkerbell. Look, I know I said we shouldn't discuss him anymore, but really ask yourself, why do you like Peter Pan?" The fairy looked up, surprised at an apparent change in conversation. "Is it because he's different from anyone you would normally spend time with? Is it because he leads you on great adventures? Is it because he draws you out of your pretty, delicate little bedroom and you get to battle pirates with him and do great things?" Tinkerbell gave a tiny nod. "I like Peter, the idea of Peter, for the exact same reasons. I always dreamed of going on great adventures, of battling pirates, of exploring caves and finding treasures. Because there are no adventures or pirates in London. Not for girls, anyway. All the stories I read about boys and men. Oh, there are a few rare female explorers, but I'm not one of them. I need your help to get going. Do you know what I mean? I don't seem to be able to escape my own bedroom in London without giving me a bit of a push. Peter Pan would come and save me from all that dreariness. Had I known about you and how you already had a relationship with Peter, a strong and perhaps rightfully jealous one, I would have been much more careful. But I still want a Peter Pan. I still want adventure. But I would in no way have put myself between you and the Peter, your Peter." Tinkerbell frowned as she slowly processed these words. "Really, you needn't have hated me," Wendy said with a whining smile. "You could have just said something like, 'Back off, woman, the fair lad is mine,' and then we would have shaken on it. Or whatever it is dumb men do when they come to some dumb manly agreement. The fairy tugged to the side in a snarky smile. She knew exactly what Wendy was talking about. The ridiculous gestures of a gender prone to extroversion. And then maybe you could have eventually introduced yourself to some fairy prince, Wendy said lightly with a smile. Just like my mother is always trying to get girls to introduce me to her brothers or cousins or whatever. At this, Tinkerbell frowned and made a gagging motion, sticking her finger down her tongue. No, I don't suppose there's a reason you spend time with Peter and the Lost Boys and not males of the Fae kind, Wendy said, laughing. Perhaps they are as boring to you as London boys are to me. Anyway, without Peter, or you, I'd find my way here myself. I don't understand the cost or consequences. I'm getting my adventure finally, even if it's not exactly what I wanted. I really, really wish we could just travel together more as friends. I'm not your enemy, Tinkerbell. If I had known about you, I would have been your greatest fan. Tinkerbell was silent, for once her face and body were unreadable, an enigma. Anyway, we should probably get going, Wendy finished a little lamely. She already felt like she had pulled a real Wendy, talking too much, revealing too much, feeling too much, all in the open. But Tinkerbell seemed frozen in thought, almost as if once Wendy had got her thinking about things she had never considered before she could easily give them up, like a cat worrying a toy. You should probably lead, Wendy added politely, since I have no idea where we are going. The fairy tipped her head back and took the human in, as if really looking for her for the first time. She paused for a moment in what appeared to be a new thought, judging by the spark in her eyes. What is it? Wendy asked. Tinkerbell opened her mouth, widely, very widely, wider than it should have been possible for such a tiny creature. Wendy couldn't help noticing a familiar, almost mermaidish row of sharp, perfectly white teeth. Was every resident of Neverland equipped with such weapons? Such mouths? How dangerous was this place? I don't know what you... Tinkerbell closed her mouth, then pointed again widely and pointing to Wendy. You want me to? Wendy asked, opening her own mouth, but not quite as wide as Tinkerbell had. She was a little self-conscious. Mother and father had always told her to chew with her mouth closed, of course, and ladies didn't yawn or speak while eating. At least not without hiding behind a properly gloved set of fingers. But she opened up a little wider, seeing the fairy's growing impatience and fearing her retribution. Ike-ish? She asked. In her answer, the fairy shook her wings and spun, hurling a stream of fairy dust directly toward Wendy's tongue. That's the end of that chapter. See